from the field and switch over to virtual learning. And so I did this assignment with them. And so I hope that you guys like it as well. They really enjoyed it. It's a nice, I guess, visual piece that like you can create something out of. So I hope y'all like it. So enough about me. I know y'all are in New York and all high school students, right, John? Is that correct?
Yep, so we have crew leaders that are 21 plus who are leading the crew members. We have four teams on here today. So we have 4 apprentice crew leaders who are in the 18 to 21 range as well, and then high school crew members. So some graduates of high school this year, but yeah.
All right, cool. And we're actually, just a quick little plug, we are going to be, I'm currently doing interviews for our Gulf Corps crew leader who starts in September. So if, I know y'all are going to be wrapping up soon, so if anybody's interested in that crew leader position, feel free to apply. I put my contact information on a sheet that John will share with you guys. And as far as like the member positions, we only hire locally, but for our leader, we do hire out of the local region. So just a little plug in there for there. Yeah, and so because you guys are all high school students and I don't think we have enough time to do like a round table introductions, I thought we'd start off with a fun little icebreaker activity using a site called Poll Everywhere. I don't know, have you guys, John, have y'all used this yet?
I don't think so. Some of the crews might have, the crew leaders might have done it. Isabella got a thumbs up.
Okay.
So maybe Isabella's crew has done that.
Oh, it looks, so I was going to share my screen. It looks like it says host disabled participant screen sharing. Do you think you could
yeah.
give me access to that?
Yep. That work?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. All right. So does everybody see this? The screen? So yeah, so the way this works is you're going to respond to this question by either typing in this link or texting in that that number to, or that information up top. So let me move this out of the way so you can see it. And this is kind of a silly question, but it's one I enjoyed to do with my team, and that's what activity have you done most of during the pandemic? And so you can read over these and I'll give you guys like 2 minutes to answer. And yeah, so just go to that website or text in your answer and it should populate live. Oh, we got one.
Mm-hmm.
Good variety so far. Give folks just another couple of minutes, it's looking like. Yeah, sleeping and Netflix are a close one. Had to give a shout out to Avatar. I heard they're gonna put Korra on soon if anybody's a nerd like I am. Cool, well, I'm not seeing any other folks log in or sign in right here. So we'll look at these results. Like I said, yeah, sleeping and watching Netflix. if anybody has a favorite show besides Avatar, feel free to shout it out. I'd be interested. I'm always looking for a new show to watch. Eating, I've definitely been eating a little bit more so than I probably need to. Reading, that's awesome. Sometimes I can be a bookie. I like to see some folks are getting outside and expressing themselves through artwork. And awesome, picking a new activity, and then other. So whoever put other, this is anonymous, but if you'd be willing to share, I'd love to hear what other activity you've been doing. If you want to put it in the chat box or take yourself off mic. If not, that's okay too. Oh, I see some comments about Cora. I know, it wasn't as good. I did like the whole aspect about like industrialism versus the environment kind of thing, but that's a whole nother topic. I'm glad you guys know what I'm talking about. Don't feel too old. Cool. Well, that's just a fun activity that I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. That's just a fun activity that our teams use to keep people engaged. It's kind of familiar to doing like a morning circle up if you guys were in person, and a lot of times you'll like start off with a question. So yeah, I'm glad that worked out. I hadn't tried it out with people from like a far distance away, but technology worked out for us this morning, which it doesn't always do, so I'm very happy. Cool, so we'll go ahead and get started focusing on what we're learning today. And that will be GIS, what you can do with it, and what careers are out there using it. And at the end of our chat, I'm going to give y'all a little assignment so that you can get familiar with the software. It's not too difficult though. And so the best way to teach y'all about GIS, I felt like, was visiting Esri's website, which is basically the company that created this software. And so I'm going to share my screen again. All right, and you'll see just Esri's made page. And there's a lot on this website, but we're just going to access a few points. And so I'm actually going to scroll down, and this is like the main platform where you can go to access different resources you're looking for. And today we're just going to go into what is GIS. And so I heard that y'all already learned a little bit about GIS. Does anybody know what it stands for? Feel free to put it in the chat box if you'd like. Oop, I'm trying to pull up the chat, but I can't see it. John, did we get an answer?
Yeah, we got IFTKR with Geographic Information System.
Awesome. Yeah, long fancy term for something that's not as so complicated. And so let me scroll down here. I like this website because it's like you just scroll down and it kind of looks like a PowerPoint. But yeah, so Geographic Information System, it's a framework for gathering, managing, and analyzing data, basically rooted in geography and cartography, and basically integrates a lot of data. And along with GIS, you've, I'm sure, heard of GPS, which is Global Positioning System. And the difference between GPS and GIS is a GPS is where you gather the data on a device, and GIS is where you actually analyze that data on the computer. So you can think of GPS as the first step and GIS as the second step, if that makes it a little bit more easier to understand. So going into what you can do with GIS, this is a nice section that kind of goes in to what can be accomplished. And first off, it's just talking about identifying problems And this example provides a map of the opioid prescription epidemic in the US. So if we clicked on here, you could view the entire map. I'm not going to do that right now, but you'll have this link to visit the site as well. So it's a great tool for not only conservation, but a lot of other stuff as well, as you'll learn through this lesson. Next is monitoring change. So yeah, you can obviously take before and after photos to monitor change, but GIS gives us a little bit more in-depth view of the change that's happening in habitats. For example, I mentioned that I did some sea level rise mapping, and that was with like a GPS unit in the marsh, and we took some elevations of the sedimentation to see if there was any loss of sedimentation, to see how sea level rise was impacting the area. And so we're able to monitor that change thanks to this software. Next is to just manage and respond to events. The biggest event that I can think of here is hurricanes. GIS has done a world's difference of helping us understand what a storm's going to do before it even gets here. And they actually do that by flying like airplanes into storms, if you've ever seen that. And they can collect some of this GPS data or weather data and then put it in a GIS system to analyze. And let's see, next is perform forecasting. And so this is a little bit what I was talking about. The manage and respond to events is more so after the event has happened, I guess. I know FEMA, if you're familiar with that agency, they use it quite a bit. And you might hear some sirens in the background. Warned you guys. Gotta love working from home. Next is to set priorities. And so this example is looking at crime patterns in a metropolitan area. Living in New York, I've definitely seen, or not living in New York, but since y'all live in New York, definitely seen some maps there about just like crime maps, and it's a good tool, like a visual tool for police or first responders to know where resources need to be placed, such as like should a police station or hospital be placed close to a certain area just so there's access nearby because there's like a larger population or a higher crime rate. And lastly, to understand trends. And so this example measures job growth or job losses in different industries. So GIS can do a whole bunch of different things. So next is just how GIS works. And I'm not going to get too much into this because it is kind of technical, but so like I said before, you use a GPS to get data, and then GIS helps you analyze that data on the computer. And so let me look at my notes real quick for this. Sorry, I wrote up a little script to keep me organized. Yeah, so when you upload like some information from a GPS, and open it up in a platform such as Google Earth, you'll see like a map show up, and those maps have layers and a lot of data in there, and then analyzing that all. And like I said, we're not going to get into specifics about this, but there is some really awesome training courses that Esri offers for free, and I put those in the Word doc that John will share out with you guys as well. So feel free to look more into that. Today's just more of an overview. And then this is kind of what I wanted to focus primarily on today, is who uses GIS and like what careers you can get with it. And so you can see that a multitude of industries, pretty much like any industry you can think of, is going to use GIS because it's just mapping in general. And I wanted to look at natural resources in particular today because that's a big focus for SCA. So if we just click here, It'll take us to this page regarding natural resources. And again, you can just scroll through it. You can click on any of the links before, depending on what industry you're interested in. And it gives us a little story here, just tracing like an oyster from tide to tide, so we can map like different species using this technology, improve efficiency. And I wanted to go over, yeah, here's the section. It goes a little bit more specific by industry. And so forestry is another one we use a lot at SCA. And this kind of gives us a breakdown of what forestry professionals use GIS for. And so in the forestry industry, they might use GIS to look at like timber load to see what area, like making sure that they don't cause deforestation and just making sure that the resources aren't being depleted. And then there's some nice videos here talking about what data they collect, such as basal area, which is where you basically hug a tree with a tape measure and measure its width, and that kind of gives you a measurement of the thickness, and you like estimate that over time to see the trees in the area and how much they can produce. And so just wanted to go through that and show you guys an example of what certain industries use GIS for. I'll go back to our main page. And then at the bottom of here, there's a couple more tools that you can, or topics that you can choose. I really like this history of GIS. I'm not going to go over it today, but I think it's a little fun. I'm a little bit of a history nerd. I'd love to understand why things were created and how they were created. And just to give you a quick little history, the reason GIS was created is because Canada asked one of their cartographers or map makers to map all of Canada's wilderness to get an estimate of like the resources they had. And this was back in like the 50s and 60s. And so physically drawing out maps, which is what people used to do as like cartographers, was, you know, too much of a task to really get that whole concept. And so the guy who was the cartographer doing this, he actually had this huge task and really helped build the technology that created the first computer, which I find super interesting, that like we have all this technology today and it kind of bases back to like needing natural resources. So it's a nice loop. I like that. And so you can learn more about that by clicking here, but wanted to focus today on the GIS careers. And so there's just a couple videos here about different careers that you can have. Obviously, there's a ton more than these few, but today I did want to have us watch a short little video related to this health geographer. Obviously, because we're the Student Conservation Association, a lot of you probably would love us to like watch the conservationist one, but I am, because we are in the COVID-19 pandemic, this isn't up to date to include that, but it kind of talks about how health professionals are using these tools to manage the pandemic and get that information out to people. So I think first I need to turn on my audio. Well, let's see if you guys can hear it. Can you hear that? No? Okay. All right, I think I got it now. Did you hear that? Okay.
The study of public health is very important to the society because we want to be healthy. We want to make sure that we prevent diseases from occurring. Public health professionals use all kinds of methodology to try to prevent diseases from happening to the general public. That is the ultimate goal of public health, to make sure that we are healthy. My name is Seth Wiafe. I'm an assistant professor of health geographics at Loma Linda University School of Public Health. We need to understand health and geography. So we are trying to marry the two, trying to apply the various geographic systems and technologies to health. The relationship between the environment and disease has been known for a long, long time. So what is coming up now is the technology to be able to understand things in a better way. And so we primarily use ESRI products, GIS, Geographic Information Systems, remote sensing. We also use GPS, Global Positioning System. It is a cutting edge because you need to have up-to-date computers to be able to analyze large sets of data we are talking about here and understand how you can manipulate that information. When you know that at point A, there's a high incidence of disease, and that disease spread across another boundary, the public health officer that has that information will be able to now go to that particular exact point, deploy resources that are needed to combat or to control that disease, and also at the same time prevent the disease from spreading. I think every public health professional needs to understand how to start thinking spatially. We know that AIDS are prevalent in certain places, and you need a whole lot of information to be able to understand why AIDS is high in a certain place. Could cultural issues be an issue in the spread of AIDS? What about trying to combat the AIDS? In order to go in and provide medicines, you need to be able to understand where it is. What about if there are no medical facilities in that area? And all these answers can be found before you actually get there because of geospatial technology. We'll be able to find that information to tell you exactly where HIV is high and where hospitals are, and if not, what do you do? Bioterrorism. Probably we are better off today than we were before because of the information technology that is out there. Recently, we saw the tsunami. I would say that because of the efforts of information sharing and information gathering and dissemination of information, emergency response teams were able to do much, much better than if it had happened 10 years ago. Geography, to me, is a science of understanding where things are. And if we can understand where things are and understand the relationship that exists between things as they exist, I think we have a unique tool at our hands to solve many problems. We need to be ready. And that is why the field of health geoinformatics is becoming very important in our public. My goal is, what can I do in my small community to make a change or provide help to somebody? If I can do that, I have gained the most satisfaction of my life.
All right. Got to end us on like a little bit of a cheesy note right there. But yeah, so obviously that was a little bit of an older video, probably like late 90s. I'm thinking they probably will update it since there is like the pandemic going on, maybe after things do calm down and there's more like studies about it. But yeah, that obviously you can see a lot of like the graphics they were showing and what they were talking about with the AIDS pandemic. is happening now, and a lot of resources that are being put out related to COVID-19 are coming from this software. So it's definitely something good to understand, and just understand the validity of where all of this information is coming from. So thought that was cool. And feel free to, again, access these at any time. There's some really cool ones. I almost picked this helicopter firefighter one because it talks about going out west, and my co-leader he's actually like a firefighter out west right now and is working in Nevada. So, but I thought the health one was a little bit more relevant. Cool. So that's a career video, and just wanted to scroll down here to show you a place where you can find career opportunities. And because I know the question I always get when I give a talk like this is like, well, what kind of education do you need? What experience do you need to have this job? And depending on the job that you get, the degree of education or experience is going to vary. So I like to just send people to this website here, and you'll be able to just, view a job, whatever sounds interesting. A lot of these are, say, engineer, but there are some like manager positions as well. And you can see that it's a lot with local governments as well as like federal agencies. All use this type of work, as well as nonprofits. And so if you do just click here and view the job, you'll be able to see what requirements are necessary. I would say that if not like an actual bachelor's or associate's degree, you would need some level of a certificate to be a professional and get a job in GIS in particular. So I'll go back. Let's see. Oh, I skipped over this portion. I just wanted to give a little push for GIS and show you what the typical person makes according to Esri, which is $74,000 a year, which is a lot higher than the average income. Obviously, that's going to vary by, if you work for a nonprofit, it might be lower. If you work for a federal agency, it could be higher, but just wanted to give you an idea of what a professional in this field would make. And then you can see also that 5 million US employees are currently employed as a GIS professional. So it is a very popular field. And if you look at like statistics, it's definitely a growing field, and there's just going to be more and more need as time goes on. And so I'm going to shift over into a specific tool, but I wanted to see if there was any questions on the material that we covered so far. No questions? Okay, we can move forward. Or does anybody have like an example they'd like to give that they think GIS could be used for? Okay, I see a question. When did you first learn about GIS? So me personally, so my undergrad was in psychology, funny enough, completely separate from what I'm doing now, which you'll see you kind of go, you never end up doing what you think you're going to do. In high school, I thought I'd be a pharmacist. So I've jumped around a lot. Sorry, a message just popped up. And yeah, so I decided, well, I was doing my undergrad and I was in my junior year, and I was taking a course on social justice. It was social psychology of social justice. And so there was a topic that came up about environmental justice. And it's just something that I really clicked with me. I was one of those people that would like, I would get yelled at by my parents growing up because I'd like go for a walk and pick up trash, and they were like, "That's gross, don't do that." So it's just kind of like something I put in the back of my mind, and like just came to light one day. And so kind of stuck with that. I actually worked with the NAACP in our area because there was a pipeline they were trying to put in a town called Africatown, which is actually the town where the last slave was actually brought to the US. And so there's a whole bunch, that's a whole another topic we could talk about another day. But yeah, I switched over to the environmental field doing that, and decided to get once I finished my psychology degree, I decided to get a master's in environmental studies. And the program I did, which was completely online, I would say, like, don't discredit online programs. I think that's going to be a huge thing in upcoming years, and kind of change how college and just training and education in general. So be willing and be open to that type of work or type of education. Anyways, yeah, so I chose the planning and management, I guess, concentration. And then I was required to take at least one GIS introductory course. And if I took 3 additional courses, I was able to get a graduate certificate. So I just chose that route, and didn't really know what it was, but I kind of fell in love with it. It's super data heavy and a little bit of coding, but it's worth it when you get to see that visual end product and like really be able to communicate with people just the importance of work that we do. And so that's kind of how I got into GIS. And I see another question about, could it be used for monitoring migratory animals? Yes. So a big part of GIS is monitoring the progress on restoration projects or different species. If you work for the Fish and Wildlife Service, I have a friend who works for them, and he's like their GIS analyst and just focuses on different species, endangered species, and looks into seeing, what's going on with the population. And obviously, to get that data, someone has to go out in the field and collect surveying data. So there's a couple components to GIS. It's not just behind the computer. You can also be the person that goes into the field as a field technician and gathers the data. So there's two aspects to it, but definitely monitoring migratory animals is a big one. Let's see, the next thing, what's the most beginner-friendly GIS host? I learned a little on ArcGIS, but it was a little complicated and also expensive. Yeah, so ArcGIS is the software that most companies are going to use just because it's the most up-to-date, and they come out with a new license every year, which is really expensive. It's like $350 a year, and I actually don't have access to it anymore because I did through my school, but now I've graduated. But Google Earth is very similar, and that's a free software that you can download. I guess, let me just share my screen and pull that up for you guys. This is what the software looks like. And you can download this as an app on your phone. It works better for your computer. But this is basically the same technology as when you just type in, like, on Google Maps, like, take me somewhere. This is the same data is going in to make this program. And so I have some stuff in here already. Let me see if I can find something to show you guys. Let's go here. It's kind of fun because you see the globe zoom in. Here's a project. So this is a barrier island in Alabama called Dauphin Island. And speaking of migratory birds, the work that we do here is at a bird sanctuary, and we have a huge amount of migratory birds coming up from like the Caribbean. And so there's a lot of people from up north. We call them snowbirds because they only come here to get away from the cold. And there's like a campground, and they camp there for like 3 months, but they're awesome. And there's a lot of birders that come there. So this is just some monitoring that we've done. We planted a bunch of sea oats and sea grasses to help restore the dunes here. This as a barrier island, it tends to shift a lot. That's just kind of the natural process, but you can see that a lot of erosion is happening on the beach. And they actually, you can see this home is pretty much in the water. There was another home right here that they had to completely remove. So just trying to help keep this shoreline in place because there's some freshwater lakes right here that the birds do come and use when they migrate. And if that became seawater, this wouldn't be an area that they would be able to come and nest and everything. So that's just a little look at that. And this software is pretty easy to use. You don't necessarily, obviously this was like data collected on a GPS and uploaded, but you can also, if you look here, you can like just use this button to draw lines. And I actually have a video on how to use Google Earth I can share with you, John, to get out to folks. It is golf course specific, so you'll hear me talking about golf course a lot, but I'll definitely share that with you guys so you can learn how to download the software and use it too. Cool. Well, if there's not any more questions, I'll go ahead and shift to the next topic. I'll give anybody else? We have time at the end too. All right. Well, we've talked about, what careers you can have with GIS, but you don't, like I was saying a little bit, you don't necessarily have to go into a professional, like get a degree in this specific topic. If you're more so like a lot of people with SCA, you want to get in the field and get your hands dirty. There's a lot of work you can do just to help create content for GIS. And so, yeah, one example I wanted to provide you guys of like what we've done, or I guess from a field perspective, what kind of tools or what this tool will help you create like a visual based upon like some data that you've collected in the field or just work you've done in the field. You don't even have to have used a GPS. It's just going to require a couple photos and for you to like place a point on a map. So it's a pretty simple version. And this is it's a little bit less technical than like Google Earth or Google Maps. So this is a story map, and we're going to use Esri again, and we're going to be talking about classic story maps here. So we're going to be talking about classic story maps, and they have come out with a new version of story maps just of January this year. And so if you do like type into Google like Esri story maps, it'll bring you to that page. You'd actually have to search for classic story maps to find the old ones. But I still prefer the classic story maps just because with the new maps that are called ArcGIS story maps, they it kind of is set up in more so of a PowerPoint where you kind of need to click through slides to tell a story versus this, you're just on one web page and you can click around, but you're not shifting to different perspectives. So you can check that out as well. I put a link to it too. And so just a quick overview of classic story maps. We'll scroll down here. It gives us a couple different versions. The first is a story map tour. And so it says you can tour your audience through a sequence of photos or videos linked to a map. And so you'll see that you like put placements on a map, and again, you'll just scroll on one page and be able to see different photos. The only thing about the tour is it doesn't allow you to put text, and so it's more just a visual tool. Next is the story map journal. And so you can create an in-depth narrative. Oops, it's going a little fast. You can create an in-depth narrative organized into sections. This one, I feel like, is more so a tool just personally keeping record of data or stuff you have done. As you can see, it doesn't like pinpoint anywhere on the map. Next is a cascade, and you can create an in-depth narrative with immersive full screen scrolling. And so this is similar to how the regular website setup, where you just scroll down the page and different photos will appear in different topics. So that one's kind of cool. A series is a way to present a series of maps or other content via tabs, numbered bullets, etc. And so this one is great if you are covering maybe like one topic, but want to go to different places on the world and not have to scroll across the globe. You can have like a tab for a certain country or a certain region. And the story map shortlist is actually the one we're going to be focusing on today. Keep scrolling too fast. And I prefer this one just because I guess it looks like, I don't know if you've ever typed in to like Google like food near me, and like some images pop up of like different restaurants near you. Is the way I kind of look at this. And again, it's gonna have a pinpoint on the map. So if you just click on the pinpoint, it'll give you an image with that, and you're also able to put text. So I'm going to show you an example of one that my team's created, and then I'm going to give you guys a little tutorial to do one of your own. And just a couple more examples of classic story maps are a swipe and spyglass. Says let your audience compare two maps to see data patterns or change over time. This is a great one to use if you're doing like a restoration project, or like on a large scale, or if there's been like a natural disaster and you want to see how the environment's changed. And the basic story map, it kind of just speaks for itself. This is just a map, and it's, like I say, is very basic. I've never actually used this one, but you could try it out. I think this one you can just put points down, but it doesn't really allow you to add any photos. I think it's just text. So that's an overview of the different story maps, and I'm going to pull up an example. Like I said, we're going to be focusing on that short list one today. And so here's one that our team's created, and it's focusing, so we're in year three, our program just ended a couple months ago of the Gulf Corps program. And we just operate out of Alabama, just coastal Alabama, in 2 counties. And so what I did is put the 2 counties on here to make it a little bit easier to see. And you can see that if I scroll in a little bit. Oh, and real quick, let me show you guys. So I'm down here in Alabama. If you're not familiar with geography too much, y'all are up here. So it's kind of cool that we get to be talking today with being so far apart. Anyways, so now you kind of know where I am in the big scope of things. And yeah, so we covered these 2 counties, and Mobile is a really important area because of this bay that we have. We have 5 major rivers that run into our area. So we're called the Mobile Tensaw Delta. And so there's a tremendous amount of biodiversity, and then the Gulf of Mexico, obviously, as well. And so it's a really important area. And surprisingly, even though you'd think that the South isn't super environmentally focused, this little bubble is. So it's a nice little, I guess, change to the stereotype. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and so I was very surprised coming down here. Anyways, so yeah, just to go through some examples. If I click here, you can see one of our members. I added a photo and then also put our metrics here of like the invasive species, acreage we covered, debris. We did a escape trash protocol, which is like going through and picking out what type of debris you find, and you can do it based upon brand names, and then you can have that information to go to, like, if there's a Waffle House down the street, you can go talk to them and be like, hey, look, your people, or like somehow your trash is getting into this watershed. So you'll have this example too, and you can feel free to scroll through. This was the Dauphin Island Bird Sanctuary I was just talking about, and here you can see we were planting sea oats on the beach. Yeah, and then if I switch over to Baldwin County, you'll see it's some additional work we've done. This was actually a prescribed fire we did. Boardwalk work, all kinds of stuff. There's again a prescribed fire we're doing for down here. Our bog habitats really thrive on fire, and so feel free to use that link to look through this. And I think we've used this tool to really engage and educate people like what work we're doing, and give them some examples, and a really easy tool just to click through for the public, because we cover a lot. We have a lot of acreage that we cover and everything, and you don't really get the full idea of what we do in just like giving somebody a number. So this is a great way to add pictures and really get your word across. And yeah, so just wanted to guys get an overview. We cover like a good chunk of the state, this little peninsula down here. So it's a whole other world, but it's great work. So yeah, so now we're going to switch over into the assignment portion and giving you guys, so I'm going to ask you guys to create your own short list. And I believe, John, you said this is kind of going to be their like weekly activity,
Yeah.
like an assignment for them.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm just going to go over how you create an account and how you can access the tutorial. It's a great tutorial. It walks through step by step. And then if you do have any questions, my contact information will be on that sheet, so feel free to reach out. And I'm already signed in, so I'm going to sign out so you guys can see what it looks like when you try to sign in. And again, this link will go out to y'all, and you'll see my information is already here, but since you don't have an account yet, it'll take you to this page, and then you can just go right here where it says no account and create a public account. And just so you know, a public account doesn't mean people are going to be viewing your work. It's just that Esri will have access to it, and you are able to share it with others. And so you'll put your information here, need to accept these, and then next, and I think it asks you to create a password. This is free, and so you don't have to put any credit card information or anything like that. It'll just create a nice free account for you. And I'm going to go back and sign in so we can actually access the tutorial, because you have to have an account to access any of their trainings. And so you'll see on the sheet that there's a link to this shortlist tutorial, and it'll just go into like what you need to do before you start, and kind of how long things are, it's going to take to walk through it. And you'll see it does a really great job of just walking you step by step and adding material. And you can just type in and text. And there's also this save button right here. I really encourage you to click that, you know, every once in a while, because it's not like, you know, if you were in like a Google Doc or a Google Sheet that it'll just continuously save. You do have to click that save button. So I did have somebody do this, and they lost all of their stuff after an hour and were so sad. And I was like, oh no, make sure you click the save button. So wanted to remind y'all, it doesn't tell you to do that continuously until the end. And so you can just import images from your computer, and it'll just allow you to drop points. You don't have to have like a specific location. If you do want, it does allow you to like search for an address and type that in, and it'll just put that point down for you. So yeah, I'll let you guys do this on your own. And then one aspect is you need to share it with John, or like if you guys are going to do like a share out at the end of the week or something, there's a share button that you need to click to make it accessible to other folks. And so you'll see that right here. And let me go back and show you guys what that looks like when you click it. Oh, well, I think I've already made this one public, so it might not let me do that. But when you do click share, it'll allow you to either embed it by giving you a URL, or I think you can type in people's emails and send them the link. So super easy. And then it tells you also if you want to edit and go back and change anything, you always can as well. And if you are working on this activity and then have to step away and come back another time, let me go back to my account. It's a little bit confusing. So you'll have your account up here. Let's see. So it's not recognizing that I'm signed in yet. So when you're on this tutorial page, you can go to my profile to access, like say you, you know, didn't have time to finish the activity and so you came back at another time, you'd go to my profile. And then you'll find any of the work that you've been working on and just be able to access it right here. So if you forget that for any reason, just feel free to shoot me an email or a text or anything, and I can help you troubleshoot through that. And so I guess I blasted through that a little bit quicker than I thought I would. But as far as the assignment, again, it'll be sent out in a Word doc that I created, but I'm gonna ask you guys to choose at least 5 locations and have a photo for each of those. And also put a little bit of text underneath explaining what topic you're talking about. And this could be on anything. So definitely feel free to get creative. Just a couple examples when I did this activity with my teams. Someone from the team gave us a tour of his artwork across the local areas, because he was a studio art major for his undergrad. And so he had some artwork at his at the university. There was one piece in a museum. There was like a mural he helped work on at a park in our area. And then he actually put some stuff at his house as well, and just put pictures of his art. So it was really cool to learn more about somebody and get to see his artwork. And then also it's a nice like to know like, oh, I could go to the museum and see John's artwork. That was his name. So that's an example. And then another example is another one of our members chose to create a dream backpacking trip, like a dream vacation out west. And so he actually put photos of different reptiles he would see at different like national parks because he's like a huge herpetologist. And so that was really cool to see like what different species there were. And it's also a great just exercise for him to learn about what's out there when he would be, if he does get to go visit there. So just a few options. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. We got like a half an hour left for questions yeah, if you want to ask any questions related to this topic or just about my experiences in general, feel free to ask.
So I'll just follow up a little bit with about the assignment. So we'll send out a Word document that Carrie has prepared that will give some descriptions on how to complete the project, and then also provide you the website to create your account on the Esri site so that you can get set up and do that in there. And so this is part of your independent work study for this week. So along with your capstone, we're gonna assign this additional project to work on for this week. So now's the time to ask questions. We have Carrie here, and she's the resource for this, and has a lot of great tips and tricks. So definitely remember some of the stuff that she mentioned earlier, like with the save button. That's going to be huge. So anybody that has any questions around this assignment, I hope some gears are starting to turn with projects that you could do. For those of you that are alumni of SCA programs and have worked in parks the past few summers, you could potentially look at revisiting some of your project sites that you've done and take us on a guided tour through some of those sites. And if you still have pictures on your phone or anything like that, you could use those. So that's just one idea thrown out there. So please, if you have any questions, let us know.
Yeah, and just to give you guys like a time estimate for this activity, it depends on how much time you want to put towards it, but just walking through that tutorial is just about half an hour. And then, if you have your photos accessible easily, I would say no more than an hour and a half of work to complete all of this, but obviously you can make it a lot longer. And I challenge folks, if you want to do more than 5, you can. Once you get in there, you'll see it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, and if you're still kind of formulating some of your thoughts around your capstone and still working on solidifying that, you could tie the two together potentially. If you wanted to extend beyond the hour and a half of this assignment, you could then do more within the Esri site and potentially add that into your capstone project.
Yeah, and just so I did add this to the sheet, but if we don't have any questions related to the specific assignment, I wanted to go over just some additional training opportunities that you can find on the site. Not to confuse anybody. I hope nobody gets confused based upon me sharing this, but there's a great beginners course. Let me pull that up. So I put this link in there, and it's just Esri and then training. And if you scroll here, you can see that you can search for anything. So if I type in like shortlist story map, ooh, I spelled map wrong. That's not going to help. You'll see some of the classes, and this is actually where I found the tutorial to do the shortlist. And here's a nice free course to go over a more in-depth view of different story maps. You can see some of the courses on here obviously cost a lot of money. And this is for like professionals who are required to take these courses. But there is, oh, you can see something related to COVID-19, and that's free and only 20 minutes. That's a cool one they just added. And so the one I wanted to show you guys is one called Getting Started with GIS. And it's a free course. You can see I actually started it when I was first learning about GIS in progress. I never finished it. But it is, it's a little lengthy, but you can kind of do it in like half-hour increments. It's self-paced and it's free. And that'll go more so into like the technical aspects that I really glanced over about like data entry and all that, if you're really interested into getting into GIS. So definitely use this as a resource in the future if you're interested in this topic. Or I might have just given John more things to assign you guys, hopefully. Hopefully not.
Yeah, focus might be on GIS for the next week and a half.
Let's see, I see one question came in. All the information the students need will be in the Word doc that is going out. Yes, so I put the links for, let me just pull up the Word doc so you guys can see it. So this is what will be sent out to you all. I just put a couple links here because I mentioned that I'm from Gulf Corps and I always give it a little push. And please like and share our Facebook page. And I didn't put the crew leader position on here, but if you just type in like Gulf Corps crew leader into Google or on the SEO website, the ad will pop up. I will say if you're interested in that position, and let me go ahead and put that link in the chat box if you are. Let's see. I will say I have started interviewing, and I am asking for all applications by this Friday. So that's just around the corner. But the ad has been up for some time. So let me put it right here for you guys. That'll give you all that information, and make sure if you do apply just to email me and you have that information so I can make sure to look at your resume or your application. And then I'll go back to the assignment. So I just put all the links on here that what we talked about today, icebreaker activity in case the crew leaders, want to use this with your teams for the next, I guess you guys are just doing another week and a half, John?
Yeah,
for the program?
end on the 31st.
Okay, getting close. I'm sure the time flew by.
Yeah.
And then just the links to the Esri websites, an overview in that example. And then here is the assignment. This huge link is where you go to create an account. And then everything I talked about in the examples I gave are right here. And then also the links to the training courses and that specific one that I would encourage you all to take. So, and that hasn't gone out yet because I sent it to John like 5 minutes before our call. But I'm sure he'll get it to you guys soon. Well, I guess if no one has questions, I'd like to, maybe we can just see some hands raised on like, is anybody interested in possibly going into GIS for a future career? With the hand raise function. You see Isabella. Only one?
We got Athar had a hand raised.
Okay. What about being the one who collects the field data for this system?
Yeah, like so how Josh and Gabe are our work partners in New York City, and they're working on trails projects all around the 350 miles of trails in New York. And earlier this morning, they were sharing how they use GIS mapping to map out their trails and their projects. So, you know, it could even be something like that, right?
Yeah. Hopefully I didn't cover too much of the same information they covered.
No, their conversation was more around both of them are SCA alums and leaders for many years, and then have transitioned into working for partners. And so it was more of a kind of professional talk on their experiences, and then a little bit on the things that they're working on now. So this was way more informative and really awesome. I definitely learned some new things today, and I hope everyone else on the call did as well. And we're looking forward to doing some more work with this over the next week or so. And yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. This was great.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for you all for, I know I'm a nerd about this. I love this, but some people it can be very boring. So I appreciate everybody staying engaged. I assume you are, even though I can't see you. But yeah, I'm excited to, John, hopefully you can share with me some how things go when people share out. I'd love to see what people come up with. I'm still thinking of like you know, stuff to do and maybe like plan out a dream vacation. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I won't keep you guys. And just again wanted to say thank you for giving me your time, and you'll have my contact information. So feel free to reach out related to GIS, or if you ever just want to learn more about the Gulf Corps program or anything related to SCA. But hope you all have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carrie. And thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.